You are staring at your bank account. It is 3 days before payday, you have $42 left, and you're trying to convince yourself that instant ramen is a valid personality trait. You're on a tight budget. Every dollar has a job, and most of them are working overtime just to keep the lights on. So if someone tells you to just save 10%, it sounds less like financial advice and more like a cruel joke. But what if you actually did it? What if, starting today, you ruthlessly extracted exactly 10% of your paycheck, let's call it $300 a month, and locked it away where you couldn't touch it for the rest of your working life? You might think that $300 a month isn't enough to change anything. You'd be dead wrong, because over the next 4 decades, that 10% won't just buy your freedom, it will trigger a bizarre mathematical anomaly that ends with you silently out-earning the people you work for. But the year it crosses over is the part nobody expects. Let's set the rules. You bring home $3,000 a month. Rent is high, groceries are painful, and your car is a 2012 Honda Civic with a dashboard that rattles aggressively whenever you go over 40 miles an hour. It takes everything you have to scrape together that $300. You don't put it in a savings account to let inflation chew on it like a dog toy. You drop it into a broad market index fund like the S&P 500, historically returning around 8 to 10% a year. You automate it, you delete the app, you close your eyes. Welcome to year 1. This is the hardest phase, financially known as the Trough of Sorrow. For 12 months, you have felt the sting of that missing $300. You skipped dinners, you ignored the check engine light, you sacrificed a weekend trip that your friends went on. And your reward? At the end of year 1, your account sits at $3,600 in contributions, plus a pathetic $150 in growth. You suffered for a year to earn the equivalent of one semi-decent pair of shoes. Most people quit right here. The brain hates delayed gratification, and seeing a $150 reward for a year of financial waterboarding feels like an insult. But you don't quit. You keep the loop open. By year 5, the friction has faded. Lifestyle creep, the silent assassin that eats everyone else's raises, hasn't touched you, because you've learned to live on 90% of your income. But the math is still brutally slow. You've put in $18,000 of your own hard-earned blood, sweat, and tears money. The market has given you about $4,000 in compound growth. You have $22,000. It's a nice emergency fund, but you still feel broke. Your friends who financed new trucks look richer than you. The 2012 Honda Civic is still rattling. Except deep inside the portfolio, something invisible has shifted. The money has started to wake up. Welcome to year 10. You are a decade into the 10% rule. You've contributed $36,000, but your account balance just crossed $55,000. Wait, look closely at that gap. That $19,000 difference? That isn't money you worked for. You didn't clock in for it. You didn't deal with a passive-aggressive boss for it. That is money that your money made. Your portfolio is now generating roughly $4,400 a year all by itself. Your money has effectively taken on a part-time job, working night shifts, weekends, and holidays, and it hands you the paycheck every December. But here is where the variable reward gets addictive, because compound interest is not a straight line. It is a hockey stick, and you are just reaching the curve. Year 15. The line blurs. You have contributed $54,000. Your balance is $105,000. Read that again. For the first time in your life, the interest has officially matched your total effort. The ghosts in the machine have matched your 15 years of labor, dollar for dollar. You are still living on a tight budget. You still look completely average on paper, but you are now holding a 6-figure weapon. And then we hit year 25, the crossover. This is the psychological breaking point where the human brain simply cannot comprehend the math anymore. At year 25, you are putting in your usual $3,600 a year, but your portfolio, it is growing by $22,000 a year. Your money is now working 6 times harder than you are. In fact, if you completely stopped investing right now, if you never put another dime in for the rest of your life, the snowball is so large and rolling so fast that it will crush everything in its path anyway. But you don't stop, because you are playing the end game now. Year 30, your account hits $450,000. Year 35, it crosses $680,000. The jumps are getting violently large. It took you 10 years to make your first $50,000. Now your portfolio makes $50,000 while you are watching Netflix on a Tuesday. Which brings us to year 40, the finish line. You lived your entire life on a tight, seemingly restrictive budget. You only ever give up 10%. You never made a massive salary. But you open your laptop and the number staring back at you is $1.05 million. But here is the main surprising but logical reveal. The head fake you didn't see coming. The victory isn't that you are a millionaire. The victory is the cash flow. A $1 million portfolio in a standard index fund, shifting to a conservative 4% withdrawal rate in retirement, pays you $40,000 a year, forever, without touching the principal. Remember that manager who used to stress you out? The one who bought the depreciating luxury SUV to look wealthy while you kept driving the 2012 Honda Civic with the rattling dashboard? That manager has a $4,000 monthly mortgage, auto loans, and zero assets. You, the person on the tight budget who just gave up 10%, you are out-earning them. Not through your labor, through your capital. Your houseplants will outlive their savings. The ultimate cost of living paycheck to paycheck isn't the stress.
It's the opportunity cost. It's the invisible millions you surrender because the brain prioritizes the temporary pain of saving $300 today over the mathematical certainty of $1 million tomorrow. The 10% rule isn't about restriction. It's the cheapest price you'll ever pay to buy your own life back.
But what if you didn't stop at 10%? What if you took every single raise you ever got and instead of upgrading your lifestyle, you threw it straight into the machine? How fast does the timeline shrink when you weaponize your promotions? Click the video on screen to see what happens when you refuse to let lifestyle creep take a single dime.